Welcome to Real Talk with Sudhanya. My guest today is Shanita Doerga. She's a powerhouse of duality. Boxing and dancing are her things. She's a travel junkie and a peace warrior. In this episode, she shared something very personal. In fact, first time ever in a public platform. I'm way beyond touched by her personal story. It has so much power and courage. And with a lot of gratitude, I welcome you to Real Talk with Sudhanya. Welcome, Shanita.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here.
Yeah, you are. It's an honor for me because I look at your pictures. You're so cool with your bike and the boxer gloves, and still you carry this feminine energy. I was so drawn to, invite you. I know that we met through this accountability team that Nicolin had, who is my coach, by the way. And there we met. And since then, I follow you on social media, and I had this whole urge to invite you.
Yeah, and it feels so right. When we spoke on the phone, I thought, yeah, this feels so aligned right now. So cool, yeah.
So thank you for joining. You spoke about something that intrigued me in your introduction was the topic of peace warrior and the wounded healer.
Yeah.
What's the truth behind it?
I love how we deep dive straight away. Peace warrior. Well, I think I've got this vision. I think it would be so beautiful if we live in a world where people are healed, and when they move from a healed heart.
Yeah.
Because when you move from a wounded heart, you think differently, you speak differently, you act differently, you feel differently. And it feels as my task to heal. And it feels as my mission to, it feels as my mission to bring back truth in people. Because when you're living from an open wound, you're not living the truth. And the power of the truth is that you're not living in a lie. And it feels as also my calling to help other people heal. And because I've faced my own demons and I've dealt with issues in life, I am, like, my heart is healing more and more and more and more. And especially the past few years, I've done some serious deep dives. So peace warrior, yeah, I'm like, on one hand, I'm a fighter, and on one hand, I am a pleaser. That was actually the old version of me. It's still in there, but I don't act on it anymore. So that's the big difference. So that's a wounded healer for me.
That's so beautiful. And somebody who's has already looked into her demons. Shall we meet the demons?
Let's go for it. They are all in line.
Yeah. So tell me about, you spoke about healing, but healing comes second once we actually know our wounds. What was your wound? What is your wound?
Yeah. Well, I was born in Amsterdam. And I lived in Amsterdam with my biological parents and my brother. And I say biological parents because they didn't raise me from the age of 6. What I remember from that time is that, well, it was all negative, and my dad caused that situations pretty much all the time. So what I remember is that he was abusive towards my mom. I cannot remember that he was abusive towards my brother and me, but he was the one who called in, the energy of madness and nastiness. And you just, like, when he was happy, that was the moment I was very aware and on my toes, because that could just, go the other way. And the thing that has had a big imprint on me, and still has, I have to say, is that I remember, like, my mom and dad, they were fighting often. And then I didn't know that back then, but I heard that like last year or so, that my mom divorced my dad. And because it was not safe, my family, they changed the locks and everything. But somehow he got in, and at a night, my brother and I, we were playing upstairs. We were on the floor, and we heard my mom screaming, and that was different from all those other times, you know. This was like, I looked at my brother and I thought, this is real. And then we went down and we saw how my dad murdered my mom.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and I just, at that moment, I could not believe it was happening. I just could not believe it was happening.
You were 6.
Yes, I was 6, and I remember everything very vividly as well. And my brother called 911, and my dad left. And I saw my mom dying in front of my eyes.
Wow.
So that's I know it's very extreme and very heavy, but that's the wound. Yeah.
That's an extreme wound.
Yeah.
And first of all, thank you so much for sharing. This is, I did not expect it. And what was your memory of your mom? Do you remember her during the last moments or till you were 6?
What I remember, not too much to be honest, but I do remember that she was doing her best, like trying all she could do for us, and also kind of covering up all the shitty things my dad did, and just very loving. And also a bit rebellious, I think. Yeah, that's what I am too. But yeah, and she wanted to participate in things, you know, at school or things we did. But my dad always wanted her to have her at home, or he didn't want her to go out or be involved. Very possessive. Yeah.
Okay.
But yes, like. The vibe I get from it is like a bit adventurous, like a bit like, okay, let's go out, but feeling trapped kind of thing. Yeah.
And I want to maybe discuss a bit more about it. But after that event, you, rest of your life, how were you born and brought up in foster homes?
Yeah, so that night I remember that the police came because my brother called 911, and they told us we had to come with them. And I remember that moment that I had my toothbrush in my hand, and I thought, oh yeah, if we're not gonna sleep at home, then I need to bring my toothbrush. And we lived for about 6 months at the teacher of my brother's, and she used to be my favorite teacher because they had to find a good place for us to stay, right? And then we got into, my foster parents, they brought me up. So it was very weird because when I was 6, I suddenly had like white parents. That's really weird. But as of today, like my foster parents, I never call them foster parents. They are my parents, and I've got such a beautiful relationship with both of them. Yeah. It's really, really amazing. Like I'm so grateful that they came into my life, and that, like I would have never been the person I am today without them.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Very grateful.
Wow. And did that help you to, heal from the trauma or run away from the trauma, or how did this new relationship help you? Because both are help.
Yeah. Well, the first thing that pops up in my mind is they provided a safe environment for me. Like I could be just me, and I was always drawing and listening to Kids for Kids, it's called in Dutch, Kinderen voor Kinderen. But I was like, I was just really, I mean, it had two sides. I felt really happy and safe and comfortable. But also, it was weird, you know, when I went to school and my dad, you know, brought me or my mom brought me, I was so conscious, like, okay, they are white, I'm not. What will people say? What will children ask me? You know, my classmates. And I even remember that I asked my parents, like, okay, if we're going on the bicycle, can you just, you know, not drop me in front of school? So at the roundabout, my dad went back and I turned right, and, you know, and because they understood that I didn't explain why, but they did understand. And also, I remember I went many times on camps, you know, like for kids and stuff. And then one time, my mom picked me up, and we had a great week and all activities and everything. And there was this girl. I didn't really like her, but she was standing there. She was looking at me like, and looking at my mom. She's like, "Is that your mom?" And I wanted to be loyal to my mom, but I also wanted to be a bit like tough-ish, like towards her. And I said, yeah, kind of. And I talked about it to the mom when I was older, and she said, "No, girl, it's fine. Like, don't feel bad about it."
Guilty for
I felt guilty for saying that, and she was like, "No, don't worry about it. It's all good. It's all okay." But I was really like in this inner conflict.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, the safe space. That's one thing, and the other thing was like, okay, I felt ashamed. And I wanted to avoid that people were going to ask me questions, because that brings me right back into the pain. And I didn't want to go there. So I always kind of kept this wall, like, don't go there.
Wow.
So also the question, if people ask me, like, hey, what's your roots? I always had this pitch ready. Like, I'm 100% Dutch, and my favorite meal is stampot andijvie met spekjes. You know what that is? Yeah. Mashed potatoes with lettuce and meat. And like, I don't like spicy food and da-da-da-da. You know, it's like, I almost say with this kind of pitch, I said, shut up, don't ask.
Trying to...
Yeah.
You know, that's also true. There is nothing wrong in it. But also, it's very evident... From the color, it's very evident that that's not 100%.
It had two sides, and I always said, like, I've traveled a lot, and I always said, yeah, I'm Dutch as hell, la la la. You know, people move around. Just stay away from the pain.
Yeah, and just for the audience, you have a Suriname background by ethnicity, and I know from Suriname there is a lot of Indians who had traveled many 200 years back, maybe.
I don't know that at all, but it's true. Like, my roots is Indian.
Yeah, ethnicity.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
So my mom and dad, they were born and raised in Suriname. My grandma and grandpa as well, and their parents, they come from India. So it's a few generations back. Also, a lie I have told many people is that I'm third generation Dutch. That was part of that pitch, because I didn't want to explain anything. I just thought, like, if I'm going to say I'm third generation Dutch, people would understand I'm Dutch. So yeah, I've been living in a lie quite a long time to protect myself.
Yeah. And
spreading a lie, I have to say, not believing it. Yeah.
To yourself, and you're a coach, and I see that you have this also a very strong masculine side of you, like the boxer in you, the motorbiker in you. Is that something also you developed growing up to embrace and, you know, be, I don't know, more Dutch or more different, or just stand out, overdoing and achieving and being this more and trying to prove yourself?
That's 100% right. I thought because of what happened, there was something wrong with me. That was a very strong limiting belief. And I thought, shh, no one should ever hear about this. So I always carried this huge secret with me. Because I thought, if you know, then you think something is wrong with me. And I don't want that.
Yeah, you might think that what happened to your mom was because of you.
No, actually, I just thought at first, like pretty much my whole life, I thought, because if I tell you, you will think that there's something wrong with me, or I'm like scarred and I'm like, you know.
You're wanting sympathy.
Yeah. But also, I thought they would think that there's like I couldn't function well, that I'm not good enough, that I'm weird, or not weird, but that I'm not good enough.
There's something wrong with you.
There's something, for what, but I couldn't do anything about it. It had nothing to do with me. And later, actually, this year it got confirmed by family, biological family. And I heard it a few years before from my foster parents as well, that my dad had always told everyone that I'm not his daughter, and that's the reason why he did what he did. But he is my biological dad. So he got so trapped in own stories or making up something that's the lie what he believed or spread it.
Wow.
And you know, energy doesn't lie. So I've always felt like
Not wanted.
And I have to fight for my place. I have to fight for my spot in the world. Yeah. And about what you said, the coping mechanism, because of what I had experienced, I agreed with myself on the following, and that is, you know what? There's nothing wrong with me, and I'm going to show the whole world that there's nothing wrong with me. And how that acted out was overachieving and overcompensating and overdoing it, and almost like screaming for acknowledgement and believing that I need to perform to be loved or acknowledged or appreciated or accepted.
Yeah.
And you know, I've got so much love and so much acknowledgement in my life, like from my foster parents, from family, from people around me, from school teachers. But it was never enough. So it was never enough. Just overdoing it.
Yeah, I totally resonate with that energy because I also had it. I totally had it because of my childhood, that I felt I need to prove that, okay, I don't have, you know, the same traits as my parents, or the, you know, the negative, whatever. First of all, being in this complete denial and blame mode, and trying to prove that, oh, I can be manly, I can be, you know, prove it all, I can be so daring, I can be so brave. And to be honest, that gave a lot of big benefits.
Yeah, and it has literally saved you.
Yeah,
it has saved me as well.
Yeah.
So it had a purpose.
Yeah.
Because otherwise we wouldn't be here sitting to each other and smiling and be able to talk about it. Yeah.
It has that coping, that facade has helped, but it's not a sustainable way of being.
Yeah, you can manage it. You can hold on to that for many, many years, but at a certain time, you just feel, okay, repressing, recovering, avoiding, it's going to eat you from the inside.
Yeah. And you cannot have these authentic, meaningful, deep, intimate relationship with yourself. So forget about with others.
Exactly.
So right now, the society is suffering with relationships, and you know, I really want to get into more about the wounded, masculine and feminine, because I hear that, okay, you are doing this brilliant job of breaking the pattern of a family, you know, of that part as well. But the thing is, at the end, the facade helped. So it's really beautiful message that I'm learning right now is to be thankful to that facade, that it saved. us, but at the same time, when it's not needed
Surfing
anymore,
yeah.
to remove it and to
face it.
To face it and grow from it to become a more authentic and more beautiful you and break the patterns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Beautiful.
Exactly. I think it's very important for people to acknowledge that part as well, because mostly people just want to fix things, right? But
solution mode.
Yeah, solution mode, and that's a logical way of approaching it. But there's so much more value in actually opening your eyes, seeing what's there, embracing it, and move on, make different choices.
Yeah. So, when you consciously looked into what has really happened and you opened your wound to face it, what was your process? What was your process to deal with this?
Yeah. So I'm like hyper conscious. Like I've got a lot of head knowledge, right? And so you grow older, you turn older, and you're getting more and more conscious of what you think, how you feel, how you act, what you do, all those things. And that's a very frustrational thing to point to be at. And I can function very well. And I'm happy. That's just who I am. And, all goes well. But because you're not facing it like right into it, you're not going right into it, because you were never able to, or you never knew, like, oh, I should do something with it, Then I came to this point, and actually it's not too long ago, when I dove right into it, because I've done a lot of inner work. Because I don't shy away from looking myself in the eyes and just dive right into it.
Yeah.
But the deepest dive I've done, I think, it was 1st of October last year. This is a special moment, I'm gonna tell you. I tend to go to the ocean often with a friend of mine, just for the training your immune system and, get into the cold water and all those things, physical, mentally, it's so good for you. And then on Friday morning, we were supposed to go to the ocean and do a dive. And my friend, she texted me the night before. She said, I'm not feeling it today, or I'm not feeling it now. I'm going to skip tomorrow. I was like, yeah, totally cool. I was awake very early in the morning. So I drove in my car to the ocean, to the beach. And it was like 5:30 in the morning or 6 o'clock, I don't know. And it was dark, and it was rainy, and it was windy. And I went down the beach, and I thought, oh, if people are seeing me, they think I would, do something, or like, or that there's something wrong with me. But I went down the beach, and I took off my onesie. I was wearing my swimsuit, and at that moment, because I felt broken. I felt like I said, I can function very well, but I felt broken from the inside, and I just dropped down on my knees, and I looked towards the sky, and before that I started yelling. I just want to do some voice liberation, right? Because when can you do that? Like when I'm riding my motorcycle, sometimes I do that, or I sing, or I scream, or I'm laughing.
Yeah.
I don't say anything, but so first I did that, and then I fell down on my knees, and I just faced the sky, like the heaven, and I didn't associate it with God or anything, but like the higher force. And I was like, I don't even know if I said it out loud or in my mind, but I was like, help me. I don't know what to do anymore. I have tried everything. Show me the way. I'm surrendering. I don't know. Show me the way. I'm here. I will listen. Like breathe, like that. There was not a rawer version of me than that.
I could feel it.
Yes. And after that, I feel so like, whoosh, I feel so good,
Yeah.
I even recorded a video on Instagram about like breaking patterns and, you know, the voices in your head, like you don't want to go. And like it had nothing to do with what I just did, but like just going into the water and facing your demons and the voices. But from that moment, things started to change rapidly.
Wow.
In a sense of... I always wanted to stay away from family, right? And because of the whole situation in my past, the youth agency who placed us at our foster parents, they kept also the family away from us because it was not safe.
Your biological whole family.
Yeah, sorry, good, yeah. Because they were also scared that we were going to be kidnapped and all those things. So a lot of fear around that.
So at this point of time, from the age of 6, you had never faced your biological, even whole family.
No one. But there was this niece from my mom's side. She had contacted me about 12 years ago on Hives.
Okay.
You know, with that cool banana. I always have to think about that banana when I think about Hives. And she found my email address, and she wrote me a letter, and she asked me for my number, and without thinking, I gave her my number, and then she started calling. But everything like in my body was like, oh, this is scary. But she was very sweet, you know. So we called 2 times, I think, and then her sister, she was visiting her, and she spoke to me, and she was so. I felt so welcome. She was like, yeah, but we're family and let's meet and da-di-da. And I felt her love, you know, from both of my nieces. But I told her, because back then I was studying, and I told her, like, I don't feel like, not yet, you know, but I will tell you when I'm ready. And she was like, yes, all the time you need. And
this was 12 years back.
Yes.
Okay.
And she found me on Facebook, and she always sent me hearts and kisses and birthday wishes. and the past few years, I kind of opened that door, and I started bit by bit, talking, you know, sending her some things. And then after the 1st of October last year, I went to the beach for a walk with a friend of mine. He used to train me as well. He's into self-development, and his tool is the sword, like the Japanese thing. Yes, beautiful, beautiful art. And I asked him, like, well, we were talking, and he said, you know what, go to Suriname. And a pattern of mine is to run away during Christmas, New Year's, and my birthday, because it was always like, yeah, I love adventure and the winter, and you know, self-development, it's good for me. But it's actually, to be honest, it was running away, because these kind of days you spend with family, right?
Yeah, it's confronted that I have something.
So I thought, yeah, of course, December, Jan, I'm always in the tropics. Yeah. But then I asked him, like, why do you say Suriname? And he said, yeah, it just popped up. It's like, yeah, cool, let's do that. Like, financially, I was not in a good place. But I thought, I'm going to manifest, because I'm going to pursue that tradition of mine. But then I'm not vaccinated. And I thought, like, wow, how can I manage to go there without being vaccinated? And I thought of different ways. And then I thought, oh, I've got that niece who's very enthusiastic. So I video called her for the very first time. And I told her, like, I've decided to go to Suriname. And she started, like, glowing. And I said, do we have family there? And she's like, yeah, 2 sisters of your mom live there. And I asked her, are you in contact with them? And she said, yes. And during that conversation, I got emotional, because I thought, no, I'm not going to run away. I'm actually diving into my roots. And miraculously, I got permission to go to Suriname without you know, the papers. And it was like a coincidence of all kinds of things. And it was fixed within a day.
Wow.
Yeah, because the guy who told the friend who told me go to Suriname, he knew someone who was in Suriname, and he knew he had a friend there, and that friend had a contact at the Bibis, or I don't know,
Travel agency.
Yeah, no, not the travel agency, but
the immigration
embassy.
that gives the embassy the visa stamping.
And I was so certain, like, this is gonna work, And within a day, I mean, for Dutch matters, it's quick, but for Suriname matters, it's like, whoa, that's a wonder, that's a miracle. So that's one thing that happened. And I went 7 weeks to Suriname, and I met a lot of family members. And another miracle is that last year I thought, I want to see my dad. I want to look into his eyes. Like, I don't want to fight. I don't need answers. I just want to look into his eyes. And the beginning of May, I wrote down my moon intention, and it was something like, the meeting with my dad is going to be successful. It's going to bring me a lot of healing and self-worth and self-acceptance and self-worth, everything. And I didn't know, like, if he was still living, or where he lived, or, where he lived. But I did see him.
Wow.
The 19th of May. And it's like something you cannot think of with your mind, you cannot
October
imagine.
2021, you could not even imagine that you would go to Suriname, meet your father after how many years?
Yeah, I met my father in Holland, by the way, but after 31 years.
Wow.
So things started to happen. These are 2 miracles, but there's more. Like,
yeah, because you asked for help.
Yeah, I was so in a broken place. Like, I admitted to myself, like, I am bonded, I want to live freely. Like, the truth sets free. And I was ready to face my own truth. And that's also what I do with my clients. It's getting, and I use boxing for that. I can tell more about that later, but it's getting into the boxing ring with yourself, only to do one thing, and that is stop the eternal fight with yourself. Yeah.
Wow. I got so many goosebumps that I can't even say. But yeah, I want to know a bit more about the 7 weeks trip, and what did you find out, even if we talk about family patterns, about what led eventually. Did you ask for a question that what would have led your father to do something so extreme? Were you asking those answers in your trip, or did you have any revelations around it?
Not too many, as in what I found out that I always stayed away from the culture, right? What I found out is that in this culture, people do not like to talk about bad things that happened, about emotions, about things which are uncomfortable. Like, I'm, as you notice, I'm a very open person. And I've been raised like that, very liberating. And we speak about everything at home with my foster parents,
Wow.
we say everything. We are very open. And my family, they didn't feel like talking about it. And I was really, really surprised that they were so, happy to see me finally. And they feel so blessed. But they didn't ask me much. And I've got these sensitive radars, yeah. I felt like I shouldn't be asking too many questions because I don't want them to feel. I don't want to put them in a position they don't want to be in.
They won't anyways open up, yeah.
Yeah, so I did ask some questions, but I really felt like, what can I ask and what can I not ask? What I found out is that how my mom and dad got together. It was like within 2 weeks arrangement, and my mom was in Holland. So that went very quickly. I found out about my dad that I remember that he used to drink a lot, and he didn't become a fun person, let's put it that way. But he also, from what I heard, is that he used to smoke cocaine and weed and marijuana, or if that's the same, I don't know. But I used to smoke that, so I can imagine things don't go well in your mind when you do those
addictions.
things. Yeah, and my family also told me that they didn't know my dad too well because they had seen him at the wedding, and it takes up 3 days, Indian wedding. So they didn't know them very well, and some of my family visited in Holland. My uncle, he's so funny. I met my uncle. He's because he's also very honest, and I like people who are honest. But he had lived with us for 4 months, so he could tell bits and pieces about my mom and dad. But and also that uncle I'm talking about, I went 4 times in 7 weeks. I went 4 times to his place, and he used to be like a very wealthy, richy man, like the bit of show off, you know. And now he's very poor, and his house is almost like falling apart. And I just love to stay with him. And I found out that my mom, she had many sisters and brothers, right? And her sisters and brothers had children who were older than she was. So often she went to my uncle's house, and she has actually lived there for a few years, and she felt always good being around him, being in his presence. And I experienced the same thing, and I actually slept in the same room.
Feeling safe in your own families.
Yeah. And I actually slept in the same room as my mother slept, and that's pretty special.
That's very beautiful.
Yeah, and my mom, she created something in school, and it's something that you put on the wall, and you put cups on it. And he said, well, I don't have much to give you, because my family wanted to give me all the time everything. But
That's
I was like,
culture.
no. Yeah. It's like, no, I'm just really happy to be with you and to talk to you. And he said, well, I can give you this. Your mom made it.
Oh.
And it's also, wow.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. That's so beautiful to, find back the pieces.
Yes, and also what it has brought me, that it's not about me. So they, like, you know more about me than my family I've met in Suriname, and that's okay. And that was a beautiful lesson for me. Like, it's not about me, as in longing for acknowledgement, longing for appreciation, longing for it to be seen, to be heard. It's okay if it's not the case. It's as long as I acknowledge myself and see myself.
Respect myself.
And and because otherwise it's always external validation. And that's beautiful. But it's
Never
more
enough.
sustainable when you can see the total picture of who you are, and that you don't need to prove anything anymore.
Yeah, and then you do it out of love and not out of
big
the
difference. Big difference in energy. And also people will respond to you differently. When you don't operate from see me. Look how much fun I am. Scream. Like, even though you don't do it verbally, but it's in your energy. And when you're more like, it's all okay, I know I'm good. I know I've got a spot in the world, then you live a different life.
Yeah, and I can feel that energy, the powerful, I don't know, your last name is Durga, which actually it's an Indian Hindu goddess of power and strength, and I see that power in you.
It's an internal, it's an inner power. And also what pops up now, I want to share the difference between moving from force and power. many years I've been acting on force, as in it cost me. You know, on one side the fighter, on one side the pleaser. But when it's inner power, it's authentic, it's more real, it's calm, there's a certainty. Yeah, and people feel that.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel the difference, so people feel it too.
Yeah. Oh wow, you're doing so much of work, and it's I don't know. Just yesterday only, I had my last podcast, which was about wounded masculine, and today you tell me this, and I'm just so intrigued to learn and also observe this. No judgments about anybody, but this exists. To acknowledge that whatever the wounds are, it can take a human to this extreme level that it can pass on. It can keep on passing the suffering from generation to generation to generation to generation. And hence, it's so important for us as this present, current, now generation to see this pattern and to cut the cord with it so that we don't
Pass it on.
pass it on, because what you are saying is not something that happened only to you, Shanita. It has happened to so many women. It has happened to so many generations, especially I would say the whole challenge that we have around racism, around sexism. It has manifested even more, with communities like us. Now, I don't want to get into that victim mode, but I really want to face the truth and take away that burden from us.
Yeah.
Right?
And we are doing the work, and inner work is hard work, but we are breaking some serious family patterns, because what I found out in Suriname as well, or like getting in touch with my family, most of my nieces and my aunts, they were abused, or they, and, years of slavery, it forms your mentality on, and your view on authority, on problems, on struggles in life. And when, like, we are the generation, well, that's how I experience it, who are willing to face ourselves. And when you can become the observer, because thoughts or feelings, if you want to keep suppressing that, it will be bigger and bigger and bigger, and it bites you back in the ass.
It will go stale. And,
so the goal is not that it shouldn't be there anymore. The goal is to observe it's there, sit with it, acknowledge it's there, embrace it, and make a decision for your own. Because when you're like, oh no, it shouldn't be there, I shouldn't be thinking that, I shouldn't be feeling that, I shouldn't be doing that, then you're only like fighting, and that's gonna keep you further away from the true self that you are. Right. And it's a big internal fight, like a big battle.
And you also mentioned about projection in that case. It also manifests as projection. You would see things happening around you also accordingly, based on what you think and feel and the vibrations that you are.
Yes. Everything is projection.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is how you react or respond to something that tells me a lot about you. Or it tells how I respond or react to something. It tells a lot about me, but also the choices you make. And also, for example, when I wake up, I'm cat sitting right now. My friend is in South Africa for 3 weeks. So I wait, like every morning, there's this loving cat, like making my day. So when you wake up very happy, or with a kiss from your lover or whatever, you start the day differently than when you open up the curtain and you think, damn, it's raining and it's going to be a day like that. And that determines your whole, and things are starting to vibrate. So when someone is looking at you angry, you think, "Oh, I did something wrong."
Yeah.
And when you're like on a vibrating on a different level, it's like, "Oh, that guy." Well, I told you, I got cut off on the way here on the highway, and that guy was like, and I was like, "Hey." So it doesn't affect me, you know. So you approach things differently, you process things differently. And also, for example, that we are here sitting at this table. 5 years ago, I'm going to be honest with you, I would have done it, but differently, because because we're the same culture, you were confront.
I would trigger you.
You would trigger me because of your culture. There's nothing personal.
No,
but
I get it.
So I would still be here, and I could talk with you, but internal there's like,
Yeah.
and that is not there anymore.
No.
And
There's more openness.
yeah, and even if it would be here, I'm okay with it. And that's also beautiful of being a human, that we've got feelings and we experience things. And it's, if you ask me, life is not so much about what happens to you, it's all about how you process it. And then we come back to projection.
Right. Yeah.
How you deal with things tells me a lot about how you think about yourself. Yeah.
Wow. There's so much of knowledge, wisdom, growth, so much power in what you're saying and sharing. And, you have been in this extreme, like, I don't think so. I don't wish. I can't even imagine what you had been through, the 6-year-old you and today what you are. I think that in a way has the beauty of it. The beauty of that darkness is that it made you look into the dark and find the truth, and that's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
And I think that's so inspiring, Shanita, to be able to do that. And that's what you do in your day-to-day life as a coach, because I know that you teach boxing. So tell us more about that part of your life.
Yeah, it's I actually don't teach boxing, but it's a tool I use, and it has nothing to do with boxing. So I always say, your body speaks the truth, and when truth is in your personality, you move differently. So, for example, like, we know certain stuff with our head, right? But everything we experience is stored in your body. So all those cells, everything we've experienced is stored in your body. So from 0 to 7, those are the sensitive years. Actually, 0 to 4, everything you experience in those years, it determines how what your view is on family, friends, being successful, relationships, the world, all those things. So the beliefs, right? And you carry that with you as you grow older. And with the method I use, it's really easy to see and feel what goes on in you internally. So, for example, we are boxing or whatever, and you look away, or you step back, or you start punching with more power, or you get blushes. Your body tells you everything, and like, it's pure facilitation of what's going on in your unconsciousness. And on one hand, you get very conscious of the patterns in thinking, feeling, and doing. And you find out, okay, shit, this is what I've been doing my whole life. And this is not serving me anymore, for example.
Like,
or
if
it's
you're
not
very
serving me.
defensing a lot, then
For
that's your
example,
nature.
Yeah, for example, yeah. So that's on one thing what it does. And the other thing, I let people experience a different perspective. So how you can deal with it differently. And because we are using the body, that gets stored as well. So, because the most frustrating thing for my clients is when they start, they know I shouldn't be doing this.
Yeah.
And this is what I want, but I don't know how to get from A to B, right? And so knowing doesn't mean doing and applying. And how can I say that? The power of the tool, what I'm using, is that it lies in your in your subconsciousness. And that's what you get out of it when you start moving, because we are all talking heads, you know? But when you start moving, you drop into your body, and then you really get answers and insights that's powerful, and you go down those deeper layers.
Yeah.
And it's not only boxing what I do, but it's...
What else?
Yeah, visualization, and also there's a training I call the spiritual detox, and that's when you like go back into your past. So by just talking, you don't remember that the shitty things that happened to you, which had a very big imprint on you today. But to see it, acknowledge it, forgive it, and let it go. Because people are often talking about letting go. But you can only let go if you know exactly what you're desperately trying to hold on to, right?
That's so powerful. Very powerful statement.
Yeah.
Wow. Look into your shit first, then you can let go.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Wow.
And also what's I call it the cosmic joke. The thing we are running away from so desperately is that thing that sets you free.
Yeah.
So when you dive, it's like, scary, you know, you don't want to face yourself, whatever. But when you dive into it, it's like, wow, things fall into places and you feel like so much lighter. It's like, okay, I don't know what we did, but I feel good. You know?
Yeah.
And that's a beautiful, that's the thing about duality, you know?
Yeah.
It's so powerful. Like
you step into darkness and you see more light.
Yeah, and it's the same with, you know, going into a mine. If you want to find gold, you need to, you know, put, how do you say it? Dig it, and also like put rocks away and everything. And the more you get into the dirt, you get into the darkness, the more gold you find, and it's your gold. Yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's poetic. That's poetic. I love it. I think you're doing a brilliant work, and that is something what is very much needed. And coming back to the first point that I told about the wounded healer, I can see that, because you have healed, and I think I do believe that healing is always a
ongoing,
forever process, because we are always evolving as human beings, and
absolutely.
It's beautiful that you have these aha moments in your life, which are like so, you know, you step up your growth to an exponential higher level rather than linear. And there is so much of power by giving into this, to your body, to the spiritual detox, what you're mentioning, to looking into your wounds. That's very beautiful.
Yeah, and only to find out that it's not that scary at all, and that it sets you free. Yeah, and you know, we are good in talking, but really your body tells the truth. There's no way you can hide anything. And also that I just want to quickly refer to that moment, the 1st of October last year, that I was like desperately on my knees on the beach. It really, when you, like, I've always had this line with above, right? And I knew like someone has got my back, and it's not just someone. also, like, I've been traveling a lot and I've done some crazy stuff, you know? Like, I'm very intuitive. I know what's right and what's wrong, but, like, being adventurous is my thing, you know? But I know I'm so protected. And when you, like, for me, I just talk from my experience, but when you involve God within your life, like daily, on a regular basis, like every moment of the day, but you will find, that's like, for me, it's the quickest way to be human, like to find out what your way is. Because we try to figure it out all by ourselves. I've tried it. So I want to talk to you all. Like, I've tried it. I've done it all. But when you believe there is a greater source and you start communicating, just like the questions you've got, and the sorrows you've got, like just be really honest with yourself, communicate it, and ask for help. It will be a turning point in your life.
Wow.
Yeah, I can recommend it.
And I can vouch for that because I have also done that when I had a extreme depression situation 8 years back. I also did exactly, not on the sea, did not go to the sea, but I had asked for help, and I did not know whether to believe in higher power or not. And I just like, if there is something, please help me.
Yeah.
If you're there, please contact me and help me, because I can't take care of it.
Yeah.
So I think, and there are so many beautiful facts and logics around it. It's very factual. It's very practical. It's very, in fact, yesterday I heard from my guest that spirituality is practical. That's very practical thing to do. So
because it was one of my pitfalls to just be like the spiritual but like this helps me really to ground. And the funny thing is, first lesson of all my trainings is grounding and breathing. And there's this saying, right? You teach others what you need self the most. That's why it's very sustainable, the work I do. Like, it's a reminder for me all the time to know, like, I'm not the only one who has trouble sometime, and those lessons I teach others, it's all to remind myself.
Yes.
So it's like a two-way street. That's why it's so sustainable. But it's very practical, and you can ask everything. You can pray for everything. Like, give me a wise heart, for example, or open my eyes. Because we often talk about feelings, as long as it feels good. And when you've got a broken heart, you tell a different story than when you've got a healed heart. And emotions can betray you so effectively.
Yes.
And also it twists stories in your mind, you know? So pray for a wise heart and for it for your eyes to get open, and things will start. And another thing, when you ask, for example, what you did 8 years ago, when you mean it, when you really, really mean it, then things start to change rapidly. Like in brokenness, you can take leaps.
Yeah, and that's a powerful statement, because when you're broken, there is no way
further
down.
There's no way further down.
So the power is very strong. So the way you can ask for help can be very powerful. So make use of that. Make use of that brokenness and just, surrender and accept that there is help. You don't need to control everything. From the deepest and the darkest challenges, like I can't even think of the challenges that you faced, but it's such a powerful journey that you made.
And it also feels like you're not alone anymore. It's like someone has got my back, and it's not just someone. It's like huge. And for us, like, things seem impossible, but for God, or for nothing is impossible. Like the things I said, being unvaccinated, go to Suriname, that was like, seeing my dad after 31 years, I really thought, I had no clue, like, how could I, arrange that or whatever. But it happened, and so quickly, because I was so determined, this is gonna happen. It's miraculous. That's the word.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
And maybe one thing that would be nice for your audience about my dad, that a lesson I want to share, a lesson for me. What I've been doing, I told you, is screaming for acknowledgement, right? Once I saw my dad, he didn't show any interest in me. He didn't ask me how I am or, oh, wow, how amazing you're here or whatever. He did show interest in my brother, though, like he asked about him. And for me, things fell into place, as in my whole life I've been longing for that. And again, same as in Suriname, again, it's not about someone else, you know, the external validation. And as a child, doesn't matter what your parents have or haven't done, you always are longing for that pat on your head or your shoulder, and to be seen by your parents.
Father.
Yeah. So really, the action is being.
Yeah.
It's not so much about doing, like done it all, performing, done it all. It's all about being. I am good enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
that's
that
the core
moment
belief.
made you
Realize it just felt like I knew it with my head, but it just
intellectualization just dropped into the body.
dropped into and my heart. Like it's really like, wow. Like I know I'm good enough, but no, now I believe it, like on a hardcore level.
Yeah.
And that's a big change.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's like for everyone who is listening. If you think like, I'm stuck in patterns, or I don't see a way out. I just see the problems, or you know. Just know, like, doesn't matter what age you are, whatever life is throwing at you, it happens for you, not to you.
Be thankful.
And there is, be thankful. And there is a way out when you dare to go inwards. And you don't have to do it alone. Like, you've got coaches, you've got the higher source. Yeah.
Wow. My heart is so full of love. Thank you so much, Shanita. I think it was beautiful conversation. Thank you for sharing something so personal. And I wish you love and luck and more of beautiful, amazing things that you're doing. And I do need to try out the boxing experience.
Let's do it. Yeah,
yes,
absolutely.
I want to do it.
Yeah.
I want to do it.
Yes. Well, thank you for giving me the space to share my experience and share some knowledge, and creating this beautiful, safe environment to do so. I think it's beautiful, you know, what you're doing, and thanks.
Thank you so much.
Yay.